Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Bonsoir, nos amis. Welcome to Game Over Montreal. I'm Jordan Hachey here with you tonight. Solo for the first time here. It's a weekend of firsts for me. Solo first time here on Game Over. And, well, what a way for me to get my first stream, because that was garbage, right? Like, oh my goodness. That was pretty darn awful. Montreal clinched a playoff spot before the game today because Detroit lost, and they said, you know what? We're good. We clinched already. Who cares about this game? We're going to phone it in. We're going to phone a friend on the game show, and our friend doesn't know anything. So, yikes. Good news is, though, I mean, it's the end of our win streak, but we did win 8 in a row, and Montreal clinched a playoff spot because of the way they've been playing lately. So it is hard to get too mad, but a pretty rough weekend for Montreal that does end up with them getting 2 points. At the start of this week, I said I was thinking I was on Locked On Canadiens, an amazing podcast, by the way, and I said I want 6 of 8 from them this week. They delivered 6 of 8, a rough weekend, but Montreal delivers. They clinch a playoff spot as a result. It's hard to be too mad when that happens. So, I mean, let me know your thoughts on this game down below on the weekend. In general, I'm here alone today. I'm Jordan Hachey. We'll talk about, obviously, this game and how poor it was and how New Jersey even tried to help us get back in this game, and it still didn't work out. We'll also talk about the power play, because yikes. And we'll also talk about the defense, but a little bit of a different angle today, where yesterday we talked about the line blending at defense. Today I specifically want to hone in on Matheson and Dobson, and then we'll try to get out of here in a somewhat timely manner tonight so we can all get some rest, because I'm sure that game put us all to sleep. So first, we will hear from our amazing partners in Inchu Bijou, and I will see you on the other side.
At the famous chateau at 4000 Rue Saint-Ambroise lies one of Montreal's coolest secrets, a glamorous Gothic jewelry store owned and run by women. Inchu Bijou isn't just a business. They've built a community that supports bold creativity and expression. When I was first introduced to founder Astrid Episegomian's shop, I was floored by the detail, vision, and scale of what she's built from her own mind. I don't think anyone would call me goth, but I know an innovator when I see one. Along with building their own business, Inchu Bijou also hosts markets for vendors in their space called Marché Maleficarum, boosting their whole community. If you don't live in Montreal, explore inchubijou.com, where you'll find over 800 designs that range from affordable to bespoke. Check out Inchu Bijou right now, a Game Over partner from the beginning. Montreal's coolest secrets.
We are back. Welcome to Game Over Montreal. I am Jordan Hachey. Rough game, 3-0 against the New Jersey Devils. They score on the empty net. Montreal gets less than 20 shots. 43 minutes into the game, so that's a few minutes, 7 minutes into the third. Montreal had 8 shots on goal. I mean, just freaking ridiculous. That was rough. A few people in chat here. Joe the Snoop says, better to lose now than later, for sure. Right? You know the losing streak was going to come to an end at a certain point, and it didn't work out today, but better lose now than later. And after we clinched the playoff spot early this year, might I add. So that's some good news as well. Robert Rice says, longest win streak since 16-17. Had to end sometime for sure. Montreal UFC says, a shame that the boys have to deal with 2 division rivals that aren't going to stop to get the best position for a home ice advantage. Yeah, Buffalo and Tampa Bay. This game would have been a really good chance to, I think we would have caught Buffalo, or maybe even passed them if we won today. Correct me if I'm wrong in chat. I think we would have caught them. But tough game today. So let's talk about this one, because I thought just right from the get-go, Montreal just didn't have it going, whether it was the zone entries, the zone exits, and I thought especially the transition defense was just way off, and it didn't really work out today. Jack Hughes' line with Jesper Bratt was just killing us once again. New Jersey's really a very heavy top six team, and Montreal just couldn't deal with it. Those two lines were just all over us this entire weekend, especially yesterday. I thought Jack Hughes was really good, but he was still really good today, and Montreal takes a loss here. Not amazing. What else can we talk about on this one? I mean, the refs tried to help us, and the Devils even tried to help us, and Montreal just didn't get anything going. The power play was an absolute momentum killer. We'll talk about that in a second, but if we talk about just the game in general, so when I write notes, I color code them. So green notes is like a really good play, blue notes is like a solid good play, red notes bad, and then brown, when I write in a brown pen, like this one, it's a really bad play. So does anyone want to guess how many green notes I took today and for what player it is? I'll give you a few seconds in case you want to type out in chat. But today, my amount of green notes was one. One green note. And do you want to know what that green note said? It was Joe Veleno on the penalty kill with Jake Evans when they made a really nice play, and Montreal gave up a goal on that same penalty kill. Like, you can't make this up, man. This was a really, really a rough one. And it's hard not to laugh a little bit at just how rough this one was. I did like some play today. I thought the fourth line today was trying to get us into it. Veleno, Danault, and Gallagher, they have been consistently very strong as of late, and they tried to get us into this, but just the whole team, they didn't have it going. They left whatever they needed to leave in New Jersey in the shootout, and they didn't play well yesterday either. And it's a tough loss. Buffalo and Tampa play tomorrow, Robert Rice says, so that doesn't help us. Knowing them, they'll drag it to OT. Probably that would suck, but if we do get a regulation win out of it, that could help us get home ice if we can, get back on track this week. Just a rough weekend. I also think that the Cole Caufield pressure, I think that's something we should talk about as well, was just not ideal. It felt like the pressure on the first line to get Cole Caufield that 50th goal, it was still there. You really felt it last night because it was the first game that he had a chance to get it, and they were like excessively forcing stuff to Cole Caufield yesterday. Today, maybe not as much of like forcing a Caufield, but something just felt a little off with the first line today. I thought Caufield especially kind of looked like he had the yips a little bit, just a couple shots that normally he would get a nice lumber on, didn't quite work out. The puck flubbed on his stick on a one-timer. Robert Rice says Montreal's focus has been waning since the New York Rangers game. Beating Tampa Bay in their house was a huge win, and then they started getting complacent. Superior goaltending and talent got them win 7 and 8 against New York and New Jersey. I totally agree with that. I think realistically, the first 6 games of the winning streak were really good, and then the game yesterday I thought was particularly, maybe not horrible, but also just kind of like a game that they really shouldn't have let get out of their hands when they had complete control, and that overall creates a worse product of that game. And then I didn't catch most of the game against New York, but from what I've heard, it seemed like Montreal had control again, and they just almost blew it, which happened twice in their last few games. But I also think this could be good. This could be like a real wake-up call. Montreal was just winning everything for 8 straight, so back to the drawing board here. Gotta get things moving. And they got to wake up this week. Hopefully you want to try to grab the 2 seed or even the 1 seed potentially. That looked like it might have been in play, especially with the win tonight. But you've still got a few games left. I think they're at 78. They're about to go into game 78, so they have 5 games left. So you still got time, especially with Buffalo and Tampa. If one of them loses in regulation, you've got time to climb back up. But definitely one where you got to regroup after this one. It was pretty rough. Let's move on. We'll go into period 2 here, where we're going to talk about the power play and what I thought went wrong today. And I thought the power play has been a particular momentum killer this weekend. But first, we will hear from Le Saint Motel, our other amazing sponsor, and I'll see you on the other side.
While you're browsing Inchu Bijou's goth shop, head next door and discover Montreal's most unique selfie studio. Whether you're looking to take some banger pics of your Halloween costume or cosplay, or you want to make some memories with friends, Le Saint Motel has you covered. Experience their bombastic decors that are always changing, hop in the ball pit, and take advantage of their extensive and flexible on-site lighting. Head to lesaintmotel.com to book your time in the studio, book private time where you and your friends will be the only ones allowed in, or book the space for an event. The dedicated, caring staff will make sure that you have a good time. I do have one warning for you before you book. If you have kids, they won't want to leave. Whether you're at Le Saint Motel or Inchu Bijou, tell them Game Over sent you.
Welcome back to Game Over Montreal. I am Jordan Hachey. If you haven't already, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out in this world of algorithms. Every like really helps us push it out to more people as we're trying to grow our viewer base. We got monetized this year, which is great. All thanks to you, but we're doing our best here, and really every bit of support helps. Leaving comments as well. We've got a few more here as the ad went through. Piano Matt says, I won't be too critical of the team today. They were unusual games, and they really feel the pressure, or they want to get a 50-goal score. I do think these were weird games as well, just with Montreal and the pressure of getting a 50-goal score. I really do think that it did get to them a little bit this weekend. Frederick Ouellette says, can't win them all. Go Habs, go. Also, who had Philly jumping into the third in the Metro on their bingo card? Piano Matt says, yeah, the Metro's weird. Like, New York hasn't been playing well lately at all. Columbus is like slowly like kind of faltering a little bit. And yeah, the playoff races, it seemed like it was so close for so long. And then when Montreal hit this win streak, them and Boston pushed up ahead of the pack. And now it's just teams playing like sub 500 hockey, trying to fight for the last two spots, third in the Metro and second wild card. But let's move on to the power play here today. They go 0 for 4 today, and they're 1 for 8 on the weekend. And, I mean, it makes sense. You know, Montreal been a very good power play team, but we know they're streaky. We know that with a team like this, with young players on their power play, a sophomore, Lane Hudson, even though, you know, he is really insanely good, a rookie Demidov, just still Slavkovsky, who's hitting his stride this year, that it's not always going to be peaches and cream. It's not always going to be perfect on the power play, but this weekend was really bad. And what I noticed in particular was that the aggressiveness of the New Jersey Devils just really took it to the Habs. And it felt like, especially Demidov, when he was pressed quickly on the power play, and when Montreal was pressed quickly on the power play, and you have to make like 3 consecutive passes that are effective to be able to break the press, it just wasn't working. And the passes were off, a couple fan-on passes, a couple where you're just scratching your head at what was he even thinking on that, like, or forcing a pass into the slot where there's clearly 2 defender sticks. Just stuff like that was happening all game today. They had a few decent chances, but 4 power plays were before the 43-minute mark that I want to keep going back to, when they had 8 shots in the first 43 minutes. All 4 of their power plays were before that, if I'm not mistaken. And they still had 8 shots on goal. Having 8 shots on 4 power plays is like average. This is with 40 other minutes of hockey, by the way. Like, yikes. Also, not 43 minutes, 47 minutes. I did the math wrong when I wrote it down. But, like, a pretty rough one. Like, they really, really overthought this one. And I felt like they were trying to just make the best play possible, but the best play possible that just was being forced. It's not like it was there. The plays were there on the power play. And power play 2, to your point, Frederick Ouellette in chat, was also very bad today. I thought sometimes they look like a solid change of pace, especially when Dobson is firing and Newhook is really good at entering the puck in the zone. But yeah, like it wasn't great. It's you know, Frederick Ouellette says they can't wait to have Gallagher and Kapanen come off that power play, and maybe Cage can come in, or really Texier is a really good option on that power play. I would even say if he can come back healthy and Kirby Doc as well. So there's options for that second power play unit that I think that one will be good. They'll be fine. But the first unit, I think this is just more ironing out the kinks. You're going to have some bad stretches with a few of these younger guys. This is the first year that full unit's been together, and they're just figuring things out, especially Demidov, a rookie, figuring things out. I thought he was the one that killed the plays the most on the power play today on the first unit. But yeah, the puck's been dying on the power play back to the second unit. I know I'm kind of flip-flopping here, but Kapanen and Gallagher did seem to struggle a bit on the power play today. And even me, the most proponent of Gallagher supporters, I will say I don't particularly want him on the power play. And he's just not he's not creative enough and to really work it out effectively when the talent around him isn't as good as you would hope for on a second unit as of right now, with Doc Texier not in the lineup. And yeah, we can even also talk about the overextension on the power play. How many 2-on-1s did we give up on the power play this weekend? Like 4? That was pretty ridiculous to me that they just, there's one thing to flub the puck and mess up when you're in the offensive zone, but just no one is look cohesive in terms of the back check. And they gave up a short-handed goal yesterday. They had another 2-on-1 given up today on the power play. It was pretty bad. Overall, chat, do you think it's something to be worried about for me? No, not particularly. Maybe the second unit, I would say I would be a little, I'm underwhelmed by the second unit as a whole, but the first unit in general, I do think they can get this back, but it does raise some concerns of, well, if a team in the playoffs is watching film as they do, and they watch more film than they do in the regular season, and noticing that, okay, whenever we activate in this certain way aggressively, the puck is coming off Montreal's stick and they're just not handling it well, the pressure when they have the puck in the offensive zone, that is something to maybe, keep in the back of your head. And if you see that in the playoffs, you'll have to do something to address it long term. But again, this year, I say this almost every stream, but everything we get from right now, we've clinched the playoffs. Everything we get from right now from this team this year is house money. And as much as you want to see the team succeed, you do have to remember there's still a long-term vision. This isn't the end of the window. This isn't a fluke. This is Montreal building for something bigger. And that's great to see. Montreal MUFC says he prefers having Dobson and Matheson at the point on power play too, over even just Gallagher coming in and doing maybe a more too high setup. But I can mess with that. Honestly, I would try that over Gallagher. I would be okay with that. And yeah, so Montreal does have a lot of stuff to address on the power play here. We'll see kind of how it looks down the stretch of the season. I also think just with Caufield's 50th on the line, the pressure was there for them, and they didn't fully answer to that pressure this weekend. Once Caufield gets his 50th, which I think everyone here knows that he is very, very likely going to get it. But once that happens, I think the pressure will be off, and maybe they'll play with a little bit less nerves on that top unit. I think it might serve them well to go to the Bell Center and just not have so many fans for that 50th goal, but also you want them to celebrate with them. So it's a bit of a, you have to think about it both ways. But Danny Joe in chat says you could feel the tension in the arena. There was too much going on about the 50. If he got the puck even in the defensive zone, the crowd went nuts. Yeah, for sure. And when you're paying $400 a ticket just to see Caufield try to get his 50th, I honestly can't blame the fans just hooting and hollering and clamoring every single time this guy touched the puck. And I think that did add a bit of extra pressure for sure this weekend. And even in New Jersey, there was a lot, but I saw on Blue Sky, Arpin Basu said he got 4 tickets to the Devils game for $150, and the game today was $400 or something ridiculous. Excuse me, something ridiculous like that. So if you're paying that much money, Like, the fans are going to go crazy, Bell Center atmosphere, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, Montreal does need to get used to things like that. And I think it's a good thing, because in the playoffs, when Montreal's like not this like new fresh team in the playoffs, when it's down the line and it's the finals or the semifinals, like, the crowd's going to be just like that, right? So get them used to it now. These are the years, like last year, this year, next year, are the years to learn, to get ahead of yourself and get your head ready and be prepared to get in these high pressure situations to win a cup. But that's what we'll go for on the power play here. Next, we'll talk about Matheson and Dobson. Before I do, I'll give you a second too. What did you think about their game tonight? I won't sway you. I won't say anything right now. But what did you think about Matheson and Dobson tonight? What do you think about them recently? Compared to the earlier stretch of the season, how have they been doing? We'll talk about that. But first, this third period segment that I am about to pull up is brought to you by us here at Game Over. And if you enjoy our content, you can join our Discord. Our Discord is a great chat where a lot of our amazing viewers get to talk to us in a public chat. We talk about hockey, Montreal. I know one of our main viewers, King of the North, always posting Bryce Pickford highlights in there, trying to get us to watch that. And he's really kept me updated on Bryce Pickford's game. And did you know that Game Over Montreal has some really cool merch? Yes, this shirt that I'm wearing is Game Over Montreal merch. Our website is also in the description. But if you enjoy any of our stuff, you got a little bit of spare change lying around, or you want to join the community and interact with the community a little more, join our Discord, check out our website with some of our merch. Here's the back of the shirt, by the way. It's pretty cool. Don't know if you caught that. These are nice shirts, pretty high quality. And please, again, leave a like if you do enjoy the stream. This is my first ever solo stream, so thank you so much for being here. It really does mean a lot to me, each and every one of you. I know I say it a lot, but it's great. So here we are in the third period here in Game Over, and let's talk about Matheson and Dobson. I'll read some comments first here. First from Montreal MUFC says, not a good pairing. None of them are physical enough, or neither of them. Each of Hudson, Matheson, Dobson must be paired with someone who can play a physical game. Danny Joe says, I'm far from a Gouli fan, but he was by far the best D-man today. Also, Hachey was pretty solid from the minutes that he played. Okay, so Matheson and Dobson. Early in the season, at the start of the season, I remember personally, and a lot of good Habs fans that I know were a bit scared of the Matheson-Dobson pairing, saying, oh, I don't know if that'll work. Matheson is prone to the odd, weird play, turnover, and overextends himself sometimes, and so is Dobson, and that might be scary. First, 30 games of the season, they were amazing. They were incredible, like genuinely an insane pair. And ever since then, they've stayed together because Montreal just can't figure out their D pairings, and it hasn't really worked out, in my opinion. If you look at their play away from each other, their expected goals numbers when they're away from each other both go up. And I talked about this a little bit with Laura Saba yesterday, and she said, well, it's hard to be too critical when these two guys are the ones getting all the tough matchups, when they're the ones always against the first lines, when they're always playing the defensive zone faceoffs, right? And what I want to say to that point is, why is Kaiden Guhle not being played in a shutdown role? That's my question, because his type of game is much more suited for a shutdown role, in my opinion. Much more physical than Dobson and Matheson, right? Like Montreal UFC says, he's better, most of the time defensively. Not as good at breaking the puck out, yes, as those guys, but his play style, his edge, his just ability to be a sound defender seems more catered towards that play style, especially because he's a good skater. He can play well in transition as well. So I'm wondering why Guhle isn't getting a lot of those minutes, and especially because Dobson and Hudson, whenever they have played together this season, and I know that they haven't played too many games together, but they have played a lot of offensive zone draws, and I understand that it's tough when you don't want to play them on defensive zone draws because you want them all out for the offense. But when they have been on together, they have been genuinely freaking redonkulous. And anytime you watch those two on the ice together, it is like it's good game for the other team, especially on offensive zone faceoffs with the first line. And I'm wondering, and I'm sitting here wondering, how are you not figuring out how to play these two guys together more? And especially because Matheson and Dobson are struggling. And especially because Matheson and Dobson got absolutely torched tonight and really this weekend again by Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt. And it's tough. And there's, overall, the coaching has been excellent for Montreal, in my opinion. But there are some things that you sit back and you kind of scratch your head and you're like, why is Hudson not playing with Dobson more? It seems like sort of a no-brainer. It seems like maybe you can try that and try to get something going long-term, because if those two play together, man, long-term, if we can figure this out. And here's a question I want to ask you is, long-term, how do you see the pairings working out? If Engstrom and Reinbacher, let's say, are up in the NHL, how do you see the pairings working out? Where do you see everybody going? And before that, I'll read a comment from the piano mat. Dobson and Matheson have not been good lately. Matheson waving his stick at glass before the second goal, but I'm not going to overreact and go, Islanders fans were right each time Dobson makes a mistake. Totally, piano mat. Like, I don't think anyone who's been watching the games thinks that Dobson was a mistake. He's been a very, very good defenseman. He has a little bit of flaws, and that's why he's not a top. That's why he's only a top 20 defenseman in the NHL instead maybe a top 5 to 10. Like, oh no. And like, even like, he has stretches where he can be a borderline top 10 defenseman in the league. Like, but no defenseman is going to have zero flaws, except maybe Lane Hudson in his prime, by the way, when he gets there. But yeah, it's so Moosebud says try out Engstrom. Don't call him up just to sit him. That is also something I did want to say. What the heck is up with that? Why are we calling this guy up from the AHL to not play him? He's been up for 3 games now, or 4 games actually. He got called up before the Tampa game, and he hasn't played a single one, even though after a back-to-back where we had a lackluster performance in the first back-to-back. Really confuses me why we're not playing him. To call him up just to sit him, a young defenseman, that makes no sense to me as well. And especially since they clinched, by the way. Like, does Mike Matheson not deserve like one load management game? I don't know. But I asked, what do you think the pairing should be long term? And here's my answer. First pair, Dobson and Hudson. You try it out. If it keeps looking amazing, which it has, you keep it. And if it stays as good as it has been, that is probably the best D pair in the league. No exaggeration. Like, genuinely no exaggeration. Maybe Devontae's and Cale Makar is better. But otherwise, no exaggeration. Second pair, Goulet and Reinbacher. I think that's a very nice shutdown pair. They're both good skaters. They're both relatively big. Goulet's got an edge to him, a good mean streak. And then third pair, Matheson and Carrier. I think they played well together in the minutes that they have played, like last year and even 2 years ago. No, not 2 years ago, but last year they played a lot together, and I thought they looked really good. I think that's, somewhat interchangeable, the bottom 4. But I do think Reinbacher and Goulet would be a pretty nice pair long-term. And that's what we have to think about as well, is not all the pieces are here yet. And we need to keep remembering that. And that's what's awesome. Frederick Ouellette says they'll play the kids right now, but they are trying to get home ice advantage in the first round. For sure. Frederick Ouellette, they are. Well, I don't know if you could characterize saying they're trying to get home ice advantage based on the performance today. But yes, they are overall trying to get home ice. But I would even say, I think Engstrom is better than Xhekaj and better than Struble sometimes. If Struble's continues to play the way he's been playing, then no, probably not. But the overall body of work from Struble this season is probably worse than what we've seen from Engstrom. this year. So I do think you need to give him a shot. There are a few lineup changes that you could make, or really just that one heading into this week, as Montreal now has 5 games left. One more thing I do want to mention: 2-0 game, really, somewhat low event. The chances that Montreal gave up weren't great. I thought Fowler made saves when he needed to, and he gave Montreal a chance to be in this game. But I did think both goals were kind of soft, especially the first one. Just like it's a 5-hole shot, you've got the angle covered, and it squeaks through your 5-hole, and then they find the wide open room. Now, granted, Matheson, not a very good job at boxing out in front of the goal, and they got that loose rebound, so technically Fowler didn't make the save. So again, can't blame him too much. I thought the second one, a very savable shot as well, but again, Matheson and Dobson got absolutely torched by Cody Glass, and he just cuts through them and creates a good chance in front. So even that one, like, now that I'm thinking about it, like, it's talking about it out loud, hard to blame Fowler on that one too, but it was a little bit of a weak shot that went 5-hole, which was my only gripe. And Frederick Ouellette, before we move on to our overtime segment, says, not a popular opinion here, but I'm not sure Goulet will be with the team in 2 or 3 years. They'll probably trade him away. Interesting. We've had this conversation, I think, once or twice here on Game Over. My opinion is you only trade Goulet if there is a clear upgrade. Like if you are getting a legit top 6 forward or a legit right-handed D. But again, if you're getting a legit right-handed D, what does that mean for Reinbacher's development when, I still think he can be a good second pairing D, which is what you need, which is the D that you would want to trade for anyway if you're trading Goulet. And also, like, Montreal does have a lot of prospects that can probably, or a couple at least, that can maybe fit in the top 6. And Goulet brings something a little bit different than what we have in some of our other guys. And he has had a lot of injuries, and I think if he can stay healthy, he can really show us what he's made of. But him, ever since this winning streak, he's played with more of a mean streak to him, and I have really enjoyed that part of his game. And I do think that he is maybe a little bit underrated by some Habs fans, and I think he's a really good player. But let's move on here to our overtime segment here at Game Over. If you haven't already, please leave a like. Thank you so much. And leave some comments down below, because this is our segment, or your segment, where you get to ask me any question you want about the Habs, about hockey, or, well, about mostly anything. I'll answer a lot of questions. But this is our overtime segment. We take it to you, the viewer. And let's move on here to the 4th period. And Robert Rice, here's a good comment. Back to the Goulet conversation, says, their concern with Goulet is largely durability, because he's yet to play 70 games in a season. If Doc wasn't the story of being a Band-Aid, Goulet would be getting more ink there. Yes, that is true. It has been rough. I do think Goulet seems to be getting, like, one of his big injuries was, like, he got sliced by a skate blade. Like, that's rough. Like, that's one where you can't even say you're injury prone for that one. But we'll see, right? If he puts together a full season next year, then it's okay. And Frederick Ouellette says, who will be wildcard 2? Gotta be Ottawa, right? It's interesting. With Ottawa, I think they are the best team. They are definitely the best team, honestly. Like, just based on play, they're low-key, like, a little better than Montreal. Like, not, like, on, like, based on, like, on a paper and, like, just overall, like, if the team had really good goaltending and minimal injuries, they might be, like, a little better than Montreal, in my opinion. But they've had really bad goaltending, and they've just kind of, like, looked to, like, implode a bit lately. Like, just some weird stuff going on with Ullmark and Tkachuk. When Tkachuk Tkachuk's dad was, like, talking about, like, soft players or players sitting out of games, and there was a comment directed towards Linus Ullmark, and then Tkachuk just stood there and kind of, like, chuckled along. That was weird, and, like, if I was Ullmark, I would not be very happy about that. And, like, I understand that like it's tough having your goalie come out and like not be able to play a game, but it's like he's had a lot of mental health issues this season, and like you can't just take that lightly. But I think Ottawa does still take it because Detroit is even worse, even more imploding, and Detroit is actually not a good team in my opinion compared to Ottawa. So yeah, I don't think Detroit gets it. Does Columbus get it? Maybe. I would give the favorite still to Ottawa. If Ottawa gets decent goaltending, they'll probably get it down the stretch. My second team for that, I think, would be Columbus, unless they're in a playoff spot right now. But also the Islanders are in the mix there, but definitely Ottawa number one, and then Columbus, and even the Islanders might get a head coaching bump. But I would say I would be more likely for the Islanders to get the 3 seed based on the new coaching bump, and then like Philly somehow up there right now. Like I think Philly, Columbus, Detroit. Like I think Ottawa's more a much better team than those 3, so I think they might get it. But also Columbus does have a lot of really good talent, like Marchenko and Werenski. So I would give them the second spot in my terms of likelihood. That was a really long tangent, but let's move on to more comments here. Dobish in net Tuesday and Thursday. Who do they play this week? Let's look at the schedule right now to make sure that I am not wrong. They play Panthers on Tuesday and Lightning on Thursday again. Dobish is definitely playing that Lightning game, for sure. Tuesday, I think just based on this game, Fowler didn't have a lights-out game, and Montreal didn't play well. I think they do go back to Dobish on Tuesday as well. So yes, I do think he plays both games. And then I think we have another back-to-back next weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So I would give Fowler the Saturday, just give Dobish an extra rest day there. Robert Rice says, can't see Gooley going soon. Hughes is not going to take his only physical top 4D out of the lineup unless Owen Protz explodes as a pro. Yeah, for sure. But wildcard 2 still open. Montreal clinched a playoff spot today, guys. Like, as much negativity as I've spewed out this episode, like let's all just take a second and just like get a smile on our face, because the Montreal Canadiens clinched a freaking playoff spot with 5 games left in the regular season. They did it this year. They are very likely going to be in a divisional seed. There's a chance they get a home ice advantage if they play well down the stretch here. Like, let's get a little bit excited here. And that's really all I can leave this on. Danny Joe says they think Gallagher needs another rest. If someone comes back in the lineup, Danny Joe, like if Texier or Doc come back in the lineup, I say give Gallagher a rest for sure. Maybe even if you want to try, we're clinched. If you want to try one of the young kids, like throw Owen Beck up there, throw Florian Jacki, even like Davidson. Like I wouldn't even care if you put him in for Gallagher for a game or two, just to make sure he's rested for the playoffs. I can honestly see the plan there. I like that. I do think a rest Gallagher in the playoffs, I think will be really good. I know it. He's like this. I think he knows this year's like his last year where he's going to have something in the tank for the playoffs. It's his best chance. I know he will be playing next year, but who knows what the lineup's going to look like, right? So I do think Gallagher is going to be a guy in the playoffs to watch out for. And that's not just because he's my favorite player. But let's end the stream here, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who's here today. My first ever solo stream for Game Over. Had a blast with you guys. And Montreal clinched a playoff spot despite a pretty bad game. On to next week, Florida, Tampa. Let's have some fun, and hopefully Montreal will move forward and get a top 2 seed in the Atlantic. But that's all for Game Over Montreal today. Thank you so much. I have been Jordan Hachey. And have a great rest of your night.